your honest assessment, who do you think's going to win? If you had to say right now, who do you think's going to win?
I think they'll give it to Jokic. I would vote for Shea. I have a vote. I would vote for Shea. Jokic would probably be number 2. I got to admit to you, it's a battle for number 3 between Anthony Edwards and Jalen Brunson.
Hold up. You just left Luka out. Hold on. You left Luka out?
I was just joking.
Hey. That's a 5th seed. That's a 5th seed. He battling for 5th seed right now. 5th seed.
Every thinking basketball fan in every corner of the world knew that Stephen A. spoke blasphemy on live TV at that moment and got away with it. I mean, nobody in his right mind would put Luka Doncic outside of the top 3, let alone at number 5, especially with what he has done this past regular season. And the fact that he didn't even flinch when he put his boy Jalen Brunson over Luka just made his take even more absurd. See, stat-wise, Brunson had 0 chance of competing against Luka, whether it's about points, rebounds, or assists. And even if Luka only got the Mavs to the playoffs as the 5th seed in the much tougher and more stacked Western Conference, the Mavs had the same number of wins as the Knicks. So when it comes to overall team success, Luka really wasn't that far off to JB. And with this fact in mind, I don't really understand the logic behind Stephen A's take or where he was coming from when he dropped those statements. To me, it's pretty clear that Stephen A intentionally ignored the obvious so that he could push his twisted narrative against Luka like this next one, which, by the way, has gone some years back already.
JJ Redick, are you ready for this? I'd take Anthony Davis over Luka. I'd take Anthony Davis over Jokic. Yes, I would. And let me go a step further. And I know he can't. I know how great Jokic is in terms of his passing ability, his playmaking ability. The brother can't jump onto a curb for crying out loud, and no one can stop him. It makes no sense. I can't. It's unbelievable. Jokic is unbelievable. But I'm saying this to you. I take him over Luka. I take him over Jokic, and as much love and respect and reverence as I have for Jimmy Butler and Jason Tatum and how big time I believe both of them are, I take a healthy Anthony Davis over them too.
I mean, going back to my previous point, almost all major betting sites and reputable sports sites, including the company that he works for, which is ESPN, already stated that Jokic, SGA, and Luka were the top 3 finalists for the MVP race. And yet, Stephen A. had the balls to say that Anthony Edwards and Jalen Brunson were far better players than Luka this season, despite the numbers and eye test telling a different story. Anyway, Stephen A.'s low-key hating on Luka didn't stop there. Because a few weeks later after that, when the All-NBA first-team lineup was announced, he once again threw a subtle jab at him and said,
All right, Stephen A., do you think Brunson should have made the first team?
Well, here's the deal. I wasn't shocked, but upon reflection, I definitely thought that Jalen Brunson deserved to be first team. Believe it or not, even ahead of Luka.
Now, don't get me wrong here, guys. I love JB and what he did for the Knicks this season. The dude just carried the entire city on his broad shoulders, dropping big games night after night, without the help of Julius Randle and the other injured guys. And to some degree, I actually kinda agree with him a bit that Brunson earned his spot on the All-NBA first team this season. However, the thing that really grinds my gears is that, why does he always have to put the player he likes over Luka? I mean, he could have booted Jason Tatum out of the equation because stat-wise, Brunson actually has a bit of an advantage over him and was way more efficient offensively. Like, he could make a strong argument about that all day long. But instead, he just wanted to deliberately not recognize the historic regular season that Luka Doncic just put up. If you guys remember, Luka single-handedly destroyed the Atlanta Hawks by dropping 73 points on them, making it the 4th highest individual point total in NBA history. The Hawks simply had no answer to Luka that evening as he was methodically dissecting every defense they had on him left and right. It was an offensive masterstroke unlike any other. Now, right after the game, most analysts quickly gave Luka his much-deserved flowers, whether it was on social media or on their respective shows. But what's puzzling and shocking to me was Stephen A's take on the entire thing. I mean, when Malika Andrews turned to Stephen A and asked his reaction about it, here's what he said.
Mike, let's not go overboard with this. The fans want this? No, the league wanted it. The league
But why
wanted
does the
it.
league want it?
They say it's because of the fans.
believe
Don't get me wrong. I'm saying the fans don't want guys getting mugged and no fouls getting called.
Right, okay.
But the fans didn't want what we saw last night in Atlanta. Did you see that?
Are you
I mean, that was
sure?
a layup. That was just, listen, that was a
It was like the
disgrace.
All-Star game.
The Atlanta Hawks, no wonder why y'all stink. Did you see how they played defense last night? I mean, this is not Joel Embiid who played Billy Ball because you know what, you have a thin Victor Wembanyama on you. We understand that. We expect that. This is not a situation where Karl Anthony Towns dropped 58 in the first 3 quarters and then disappeared. It was an APB out for him in the 4th quarter and all of this other stuff. But the 58 points he scored in those first 3 quarters, a lot of those points he was being challenged. This is not that. What transpired last night in Atlanta was disgraceful.
So first, he turned the crosshairs to the NBA, saying that the league was behind it and wanted it to happen so that fans would be entertained. Then after that, he also blamed the Hawks for Luka's scoring explosion and blasted them for not defending Luka well enough, to the extent that he called them disgraceful for letting something like this happen. But see, here's what's strange about all of it. If you replay that short snippet or even watch the entire clip, Stephen A. didn't mention Luka's name or anything related to the crazy scoring performance that he just dropped while he was presenting his take, not even once. And to me, this was his way of, once again, low-key disrespecting as well as discrediting the greatness of Luka Doncic. Like, the dude just dropped 73 points on Kobe's death anniversary. But despite the magnitude of the event, Stephen A. didn't even bother to acknowledge Luka or make any comment about his performance at all, which is quite saddening and a bit frustrating, to be quite honest. Anyway, so there's this guy named Jason Whitlock who was on top of all of this as he exposed Stephen A. for having a double standard and intense bias against Luka.
Stephen A. Smith seemingly had 2 different reactions within a span of a week, 10 days, to Joel Embiid, the Philadelphia 76ers center, scoring 70 points. Joel Embiid, black dude, maybe he's from Cameroon. I can't remember where Joel Embiid's from. He played a year of college basketball at Kansas. He's a great player. Scored 70 points for the 76ers. And then Luka Doncic, white guy from maybe Serbia, you know, one of these Eastern European countries or whatever. He scores 73 points, and Stephen A. trashes Luka Doncic's performance, or, you know, says the Atlanta Hawks played no defense and it's embarrassment. But when Joel Embiid, black guy, scores 70, it's one of the great performances. Let's just contrast these 2 comments from Stephen A. Smith about Joel Embiid and Luka Doncic. Let's play Joel Embiid first.
But I will tell you this. We're talking about Embiid right now, 30 points or more in 21 consecutive games. And yet the Philadelphia 76ers, winners of 6 straight, are still 4 games out of first place. So what this says to me, when the message that Embiid send to the rest of the NBA, this brother is phenomenal, arguably the best big man in the game. Obviously, Jokic always warrants our consideration. But the message he sent is that he's going for the championship. He's not trying to mess around. He already got the league MVP. I think that's the message he's trying to send. My point is, Shannon, that's the message he needs to send, because how he's playing is what's going to be required in order for him to pull this off as the Sixers are presently constructed.
So that's Stephen A. Smith talking about Joel Embiid. Luka Doncic has been in the league 5-6 years and, playing for the Dallas Mavericks. I would think he'd won a championship too, but he scores 73 points, and it provokes this from Stephen A. Smith.
The Atlanta Hawks, no wonder why y'all stink. Did you see how they played defense last night?
Based on those clips, Stephen A. celebrates the 70-point performance of the former, while clearly downplaying the latter. Now, I don't know what his motivation was behind it. I mean, whether he was playing the race card or anything. But one thing is certain, Stephen A. Smith doesn't like Luka Doncic. Now, during these playoffs, Stephen A. didn't stop doubling down on his disdain for Luka by making shoot-from-the-hip kind of predictions such as this one.
And I certainly don't believe Oklahoma City is going to lose to Dallas. I think the collision course is inevitable, and it's going to be Minnesota versus OKC.
I mean, though he didn't specifically attack Luka here, He picked the team that Luka is playing against by going with SGA and OKC. Well, we all know that this didn't age well. Luka averaged 24.7 points, 10.5 rebounds, and 8.7 assists to close out the first-seeded OKC Thunder in 6 games and send them packing home early. No one from OKC, regardless if it was Lou Dort, Jalen Williams, or his MVP candidate SGA, was able to stop him from having his way offensively. But see, despite how dominant Luka was in that series against the top-seeded team in the West, Stephen A's mouth remained shut all throughout and didn't even give Luka his flowers for beating a legit contender. Now, when the Mavs advanced to the next round and faced the Timberwolves, he kept the hate on Luka going by having another bold yet flawed prediction.
I'm just looking at those trees in Minnesota, and I'm saying to myself, okay, how's that going to be in this particular series? I don't know. Dallas is no joke. Wouldn't surprise me if they won. But if I got to pick between the two right now, I'm of the mindset that it's Minnesota.
So right after OKC went down in defeat, Stephen A just picked the Wolves to win the series with such ease. Well, we all know that it didn't go down like that, as Luka became Ant-Man's daddy, averaging 32.4 points, 9.6 rebounds, and 8.2 assists while outscoring the entire T-Wolves in the first quarter of the closeout game. And even if the Mavs looked like they were going to sweep the T-Wolves, Stephen A never talked about how good Luka and Kyrie were during the entire series, and instead pivoted away from the facts by highlighting the weaknesses of the T-Wolves, particularly the lackluster play of Karl Anthony Towns.
But what's impressed you more? Is it more impressive to you, Bob, what Luka and Kyrie are doing, or disappointing in what we're seeing from Minnesota?
I'm going to be positive. The guy on the far right is going to probably take a negative shot at this thing. So I'm going to be positive here. I think Luka and Kyrie.
I'm not one of these many players in the league that get upset just because you disagree with me. I love you. I give you a hug every time I see you. It don't faze me, okay? But you're right. I do disagree with you. You call it negativity all you want to. I'm talking basketball here, okay? The real story is Karl Anthony Towns. Where's your Robin?
Yes.
He's averaging 15 points. Yo, he's the self-proclaimed best shooting big man in the history of the game. CP3, he is shooting 13.6% from three-point range.
Stephen A not giving Luka his dues time and time again, even though he has the numbers and accolades to back it all up, simply means that he doesn't like Luka personally for some reason. Now, don't get me wrong, I have no problem if you like certain players better than others. However, if you're a well-respected analyst like Stephen A, who's been covering the NBA for years now, you should be impartial with your takes, especially if there's cold hard evidence lying around, just like in Luka's case. I mean, whether it's about the eye test or stats, Luka clearly killed it from both aspects. But if certain analysts like Stephen A won't acknowledge that, then it only diminishes their credibility, because the audience knows that they're just lying, or worse, flat out hating. Anyway, what do you guys think is the reason or motivation behind Stephen A's completely biased takes on Luka? Let me know your thoughts on this by dropping your comments below. And if you like this video, please be sure to hit like and subscribe to this channel so you'll see more content like this. Until then, thanks for watching, and see you next time.